Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Village of Tuckahoe for the month of December. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, please take the attendance.
Present.
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 I am present. Thank you. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from November the 10th, 2021. Do you have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 69 Main Street and 22 Underhill Street are adjourned. Two items on the agenda will be 41 Almavilla Avenue and 377 Marbledale Road. First up will be 41 Almavilla Avenue. Is the applicant present? If so, please step to the mic, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Arlene Love, 41 Armavilla Avenue, Tuckahoe.
So has anything changed since the last time we met?
I have the approval for the curb cut.
Curb cut. Excellent.
Good.
All right. Do you have any
Good,
questions
yeah.
of us?
No questions.
Okay.
Gary, have you seen that approval?
I have.
I have not, but I
Yeah.
confirmed with Mr. Williams that he did get you, that she did
Ah,
get you.
okay.
Sounds good. All right. You can
Yeah,
have a seat
good.
unless you have anything else to say.
I don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the public hearing is still open regarding 41 Almavilla Avenue. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment regarding this application? Caroline, anybody on Zoom? Very good. I will make a motion to close the public hearing for 41 Almavilla Avenue. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Does anyone have a resolution in the form of, oh, I think I will make this. I have a resolution in the form of a motion I would like to present. The application for area variance requested by Alfred Love and Arlene Love, whose address is 41 Armavilla Avenue, Tuckahoe, New York, Section 26, Block 2, Lot 40, for relief from the following sections of the zoning code 5-1.2, off-street parking. Secret resolution. Based on this application as submitted, this zoning board of appeals finds and determines that 1, the action taken herein is an unlisted action subject to the requirements of SECRA and its implementing regulations. 2, this zoning board of appeals is in possession of all information reasonably necessary to make the determination as to the environmental significance of the proposed area variance application. 3, that the action taken herein shall not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and it is declared that a negative declaration is hereby adopted with regard to this action. Have a second to the motion?
Second.
Nancy, please poll the board.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Just for the record, it is Jack Min, just so we don't have, that's fine, just so we don't have anything mislabeled on the record. At least I know I'm memorable.
Okay, so to continue, applicants Alfred Love and Arlene Love, are seeking to expand a one-car driveway to a two-car driveway at the premises located at 41 Armavilla Avenue in Tuckahoe. The zoning code, section 5-1.2, does not allow for parking spaces to be in the front yard. Thus, the applicants are seeking relief from this section so as to allow for the parking of 2 cars on the side of the front yard. This request is not typically granted by this board, as the intention of the section is to maintain green space. However, based on the location of this property being in an area that has substantial off-street parking problems and the location of the proposed spaces being on the side of the front yard, we find that the relief sought not only benefits the applicant, but the entire neighborhood. It is important to note that the curb cut to accommodate the extra space has been approved by the Tuckahoe's Department of Public Works, subject to this board's approval, and that the proposed cut The proposed curb cut, will not eliminate any off-street parking spaces. Therefore, recommendation is for the area variances to be granted, as the benefit to the applicant of this area variance outweighs the detriment to the health, safety, and the welfare of the neighborhood. The applicant has demonstrated through its submissions and presentation that it has met all aspects of the five-prong test to the satisfaction of this board. The granting of the variances herein is granted on the condition that the work under such variances be commenced and diligently prosecuted within 1 year of the granting thereof. Failing such variances shall become null and void. Do I have a second?
Second.
Nancy, please poll the board.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor. Congratulations. Good luck.
Good luck.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, next item is 377 Marbledale Road. The applicant, we know, is present. The public hearing, I would remind everybody, has already been closed on this, so there is no room for any further comments regarding the issue. Does any member have a resolution in the form of a motion they would like to present?
Let them speak first.
Afterwards? No,
Why don't we let them speak first?
because it has nothing to do with this.
About the whole project,
Correct?
Public hearing's closed, so
Public hearing's closed, so
Right.
we're going to vote on this, and then you can read your statement.
we don't want to hear them first?
No.
I have a motion in the form of a resolution in the form of motion. The applicant is Jonathan Gian. Location of the project is 377 Marbledale Road, Section 46, Block 1, Lots 12, 13, and 15. The applicant, Jonathan Gian, is seeking an interpretation from the decision dated March 18, 2021 of the Village of Tuckahoe's building inspector, Mr. William Williams. The issue that is currently before this board is whether the relocation of a tax map line to create two buildable lots where only one presently exists is the creation of new lots and therefore must comply with the 1999 Tuckahoe Village zoning code requirements. The applicant currently owns a building lot on Marbledale Road consisting of 3 tax map parcels, parcels 12, 13, and 15. The way the lot is now configured, only one home can be built on the lot. Applicant is seeking to relocate the tax map lines to create 2 buildable lots where he proposes to build 2 new homes. The Village of Tuckahoe's building inspector has determined by relocating the tax map lines and creating 2 new buildable lots, the applicant must comply with the requirements of the Tuckahoe Village zoning code that applies to lots created after 1999. The applicant has appealed this determination on the question of whether the relocating of tax map lines to create additional buildable lots are newly created lots. We must first look at the definition of what a lot is pursuant to the Tuckahoe Village zoning code. The definition of a lot is found in Section 3-1.1.18 of the Tuckahoe Village zoning code. The section reads as follows. Lot, any parcel of land not necessarily coincident with a lot or lots shown on a map of record, which is occupied or which is to be occupied by a building and its accessory buildings, if any, or by a group of buildings having any land in common and the buildings accessory thereto, if any, together with required open spaces pertinent to such building or group of buildings. The definition is clear that a lot is a parcel of land that is occupied or to be occupied by a building regardless of the map designations. Here the applicant currently has 1 lot that he can build 1 home on. He's seeking to redraw the tax map line so that he creates 2 lots that he can then put 2 homes on. Applicant is clearly creating 2 new lots with the relocation of the tax map line, which fits squarely with the Village of Tuckahoe's definition of a lot. We do not see the ambiguity in the plain language of the definition, and a plain reading of this definition is exactly in line with the building inspector's determination that the applicant would be creating 2 new lots and therefore must comply with the post-1999 Village Code. During this process and at the hearing on the interpretation, we heard from the village building inspector, Mr. Bill Williams. Mr. Williams has been the building inspector for the Village of Tuckahoe for over 20 years and was the building inspector at the time of the 1999 amendments to the zoning code. Mr. Williams was unequivocal in that this has been the village's position on the creation of lots since 1999, and he's been consistent with his interpretation of the creation of new lots since 1999. In furtherance of this interpretation, we are also in agreement with the Village of Tuckahoe's planner, Noah Levine from BFJ Planning. In support of the building inspector's position, Mr. Levine crafted a memorandum to this board dated June 9, 2021. In said memorandum, Mr. Levine points out the 1999 amendments to the zoning code were primarily to limit the density in the village. The updated regulations passed by the Board of Trustees in 1999 responded to an uptick in subdivisions and the need for standards to prevent overcrowding and maintain green spaces between homes. The revised standards included an increase in minimum lot width, minimum lot size, and setback from property lines, among other changes. Therefore, based on the clear language of the definition of lot, and hearing both the village's building inspector and planner, we find the building inspector is correct in his interpretation by the applicant seeking to redraw the tax map lines. He would be creating 2 new lots, and he would then need to comply with the post-1999 zoning requirements.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Nancy, please poll the board.
In favor of the Mr. Williams' interpretation.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
I would like to add a couple comments to this. In addition to what we read, there's a couple specific things. Number one, I believe the plain language is clear that this is the creation of a new lot. The applicant is asking to demolish a 50, 60, 70-year-old house and the tax lot that it sits on, and then redraw a new lot line. So that clearly goes before the planning board. It is the planning board's responsibility to decide whether that is appropriate. I would add, too, that this particular property is idiosyncratic in the sense that it is on a steep hill. It is a rocky property. It is in very close conjunction to neighbors. It is an area that has flooding problems, so it needs the expertise of the planning department to determine whether such subdivision and site plan is appropriate. That's something that the planning board has the expertise, not the zoning board. So I think it is appropriate for the planning board to weigh in on it. And then the last thing I would just say is that if we approve the applicant's legal theory that they can just demolish houses and redraw property lines, tax lot lines, that would allow any developer to come in and buy an entire row of houses, demolish them all, and then arbitrarily redraw the tax lot lines and put in new properties without any input or consideration of the residents, the community, or the environment. Obviously, if any of that would be appropriate or would need to happen, it should go before the planning board. So I think for many reasons it is appropriate to agree with Mr. Bill Williams' interpretation that demolishing of a house and a tax lot that's been there for 50 years or whatever needs to go before the planning board before approval.
Thank you, Member Scalzo. I would just comment, I would agree with the comments made by Member Scalzo. Anyone else on the board have any comments?
Yeah, I agree with him, too.
Nope. Okay, so that wraps that up, and we did agree that you would make a statement at this point.
So, Mr. Chair, just before he does that, if we could just bring the public up to speed, we received, the building department received new plans, which building department hasn't reviewed yet. This board hasn't seen them, so we're not going to discuss anything, but I know Mr. Guillen wants to make a statement, which I know the chair is going to allow that.
Right.
But there's really no public comment on this at this point because we just don't know what we're talking about.
Very good. Thank you.
'Cause we haven't seen it.
Right.
May I just
Just speak into the mic, please.
and may I just add one thing to the record? Maximilian Mahalik with the firm of Cutting Fader on behalf of the applicant Jonathan Guillen. I did note that the public hearing was closed on the question of the lot creation. Obviously, the board just voted on that. Gary, please correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but I do understand that the public hearing on the height question is still open, because I heard that there was a comment that the public hearing in its entirety was closed, and I recall the last meeting that the public hearing on the height was still open.
Yeah, the public hearing, the height's still open, but we really can't hear from the public based on that new submission. Again, we don't
Yep.
know what you're asking for or what the interpretation is of the building inspector, so we really can't comment on that right now. But if Mr. Guillen wants to make the statement that, if the chair allows it, that's fine. But again, we're not gonna be able to comment on it until we get information from our building inspector of these new plans and how he's interpreting them.
That completely understood. I just wanted to make that note for the
Sure,
record
absolutely.
as to clarify for the public.
Good.
Yeah,
You're right.
Thank
they're
you.
gonna have multiple times, Mr. Chair, as
Right.
you may know, to comment on, these plans once we review them, and they're welcome to come down and see them and make their
Sure.
own comments.
Good.
evening. Jonathan Gian, applicant on record. My statement there's no specifics about the project or whatever we resubmitted. This is more of an overview of the project in its entirety, and I thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I know that I can't comment on the lot, so there's a few things that I'm going to have to remove from here. So if it sounds like I'm skipping, it's because I have to, unfortunately. But and for the record, my house is over 100 years old.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, 50. I wish. I would probably wouldn't knock it down if it was only 56 years old. Good evening, Chairperson, member of the boards, neighbors, and fellow members of the community. A lot has transpired since our first meeting, and I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to present my position as to why I feel the proposed project is without question the most beneficial, not only for myself, but also for the neighbors and the community. I'm actually quite surprised with the way this application has been received. It seems to have been immediately opposed before anyone actually had any of the facts, which obviously set this off on the wrong foot. Given that now everyone is apprised of what I can and cannot build, what we are asking for and why, and what the pros and cons of each scenario is, I would love nothing more than to restart this conversation. It has always been my intention to produce homes that we could all be proud of aesthetically, while at the same time helping the village of Tuckahoe, and more specifically my neighbors, achieve further prosperity. I would like to thank Building Inspector Bill Williams for taking the time and meeting with my architect to determine the height of the proposed houses. Although it was determined a height variance would still be necessary, I'm happy to report, given our amended plans, we believe the height variance should be substantially reduced to about 5 or 6 feet. These 5 feet would be indiscernible from the street. With that said, I want the board to note that the only reason we're going for the height variance in the first place is because we are trying to match the heights of the neighbors to the north and south. The peaks of our proposed houses are within the same foot as the peak of the house to the north and only 3 feet from the peak of the house to the south. Our height variances serve no other purpose than to create an aesthetically pleasing house to match the character of the surrounding houses. We could easily create a flat roof that would reduce this height and allow us to forego this variance, but that would be counterproductive in our attempt in maintaining the characteristic of the houses on Marbledale Road. With that said, I would like to take a few minutes to present why we are asking for these interpretations and variances in the first place. There seems to be quite a bit of confusion as to why we're proposing what we are. Although the narrative painted by the opposition is one where the proposed project would be detrimental to the area, nothing can be further from the truth. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Our proposed project actually alleviates all of their concerns, from green area, parking, water runoff, to property values. There's literally no objection that is not alleviated with my proposed design. Our proposed project will, without question, be the most beneficial use of the land than any other scenario. There seems to be a thought that the larger houses raise values, but it's the exact opposite that is true. This is easily verified with a quick web search. The larger the house, the lower average price per square foot. The lower price per square foot then is used as a comparable when applied to existing homes, ultimately lowering the values of the surrounding homes. It was said at the last meeting that a $3 million house would be beneficial to the area, but the fact of the matter is that regardless of how large the house will be, Marbledale Road will not see this type of value. We can easily gauge this with 389 Marbledale, a 3,000 plus square foot house, just 2 houses to the north, which has been listed for an unusually long 2 years for $1.1 million and is not sold. As another point of reference, 267 Dante, which is the 7,500 square foot house that was built after this board denied their application, has a current approximate value of $1.1 million, which equates to about $160 per square foot. A low number such as this will inevitably be used as a comparable for the surrounding houses, ultimately lowering their value. I also think that it's prudent to note that this property was listed at $1.2 million at one point, but given the property never sold, it has been converted into a rental property. After speaking with my neighbors, I know for certain that a rental property nearby is not seen favorably. In contrast to 267 Dante, my proposed houses are designed to achieve the highest price per square foot the street has ever seen. Our design has the potential to be the first houses on the street to reach the $1 million mark. If we do so, and I sincerely believe we will achieve prices in the $350 to $360 per square foot range, which is approximately $35 more per square foot than the next best comparable directly across the street at 368 Marbledale that sold not too long ago and achieved $323 per square foot. This, in and of itself, will without question raise the values of everyone's homes. Taking that same $35 per square foot increase in value and applying it to just the houses directly across the street, we'll see an increase in their values between $60,000 to $100,000. Unfortunately, the alternative as of right would see reductions in values, as the averages would be dragged down, or in best case scenario, create a price stagnation, which obviously isn't good for anyone. Now you may ask, why not build two houses of lesser square foot? And the reason is quite simple. A two-house design would not be economically feasible, as it would not produce sufficient revenue to offset the cost to construct. If relegated to two houses, a design change would be needed to reduce construction costs drastically to make it feasible. From our assessment of the design and scope, given the grade of the land, this would not produce houses that, in my opinion, would enhance the street. Due to their size, would likely pull down the average price per square foot of the surrounding houses. You may then ask, why build large at all? And the answer here is as simple as well, the economies of scale. I have a right to build more than 10,000 square feet on my property, and although I don't intend to use it all, I would have to use as much as I can in order to offset my construction cost. I understand that this won't produce a higher price per square foot, but given the circumstance, this would be the only manner in which I can realize a return. Ultimately, this would create a scenario of diminishing returns, not just for myself, but for my surrounding neighbors. I'd like to touch on something that I feel is a bit unfair. Several times since we began, the term threat has been used to falsely depict what we are doing. This is unfortunate and misleading, as what we're discussing here aren't threats by any means. We're simply discussing what the impacts are of an as-of-right design. We didn't write the rules, we're simply shedding light on the character and economic impacts of an as-of-right versus the as-proposed. We feel it's something we must bring to light, as the very constituents you are tasked to represent are the ones to be most affected. At the last meeting, Chairperson Ringwald asked why I don't have a petition in support of my project. And the reason is that I believe that creating petitions with opposing views would only hurt our community by polarizing our neighbors into two groups. I'm the kind of person who would rather bring people together than rip them apart. In addition, I sincerely believe decisions such as these should be based on fact rather than opinion. Shaping our community and how properties are utilized is extremely nuanced, where an in-depth understanding of how real estate works from every facet is essential in determining the proper direction in which to lead our community. The public has appointed and elected officials, such as the zoning board, so as to help guide the village in the right direction, not the other way around. It's you, the Zoning Board of Appeal, who has the knowledge, expertise, and ability to shape our village, and I'm hopeful that given the facts, our proposal will be seen favorably for the community. Prior to our last meeting, I circulated to the board and to the public a report with the pros and cons of my proposed projects in an attempt to clarify to the neighbors why we are proposing what we are. Although I didn't go door to door asking for signatures on a petition, the mere fact that there are much fewer people here now than at the first meeting is a good indication of how people's positions have changed. I think it's also worth noting that neither of my neighbors to either side of me, who arguably would be most affected, have not opposed. I suspect that those that are here now would likely discuss issues during the public portion of the hearing about my project, such as noise, parking, property values, or water runoff. But as we know, those concerns do not preclude construction from taking place. Furthermore, those concerns are actually alleviated with my proposal. In conclusion, real estate is one of the top economic drivers of the economy. I want nothing more than to push our economy and the values of our real estate in an upward trend. Our proposal is without question the highest and best use of the property, with everyone set to enjoy higher property values. An $800,000 house today, which most on the street currently are, would be worth at least $900,000 when I'm done. A $100,000 increase in value is not too shabby, given that no one other than myself needs to do anything for it. When considering the proposed project, the board should note that we are only asking for a light line consideration and an approximately 5-foot height variance. Our project complies with every single other requirement of the zoning code. With all that said, if the board truly doesn't believe this is something worth pursuing, I don't want to waste any more of the board's time, but I do want to go on record that I, Jonathan Gian, had a plan that would create beautiful homes that would not only alleviate all of the concerns that were stated, but also stimulate our residential market while increasing everyone's values in the process. Regardless of the outcome of the vote on interpretation of the lot line adjustment, I respectfully request that the board provide an indication on whether or not a variance for 3 houses on my 150-foot width lot is something worth pursuing. At the end of the day, the better the project, the better we all will be. If I do well, we all do well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other business to be discussed this evening? Seeing none, I am going to make a motion to close this meeting and
Second.
wish everyone happy holidays.
Hey.
Do I have a second?
And
Do
second.
we,
All in favor?
did you want to announce Member Scalzo's?
Oh,
Yeah, one little
I
thing.
apologize. I have to stop. Unfortunately, we are losing one of our star members who has served this board for over a decade, in Mr. David Scalzo. He has decided to move out of town and actually out of state to a much warmer climate. God bless him. He misses the snow, and I personally am sad to see him go because he adds a tremendous amount of knowledge and expertise to this board. And I particularly like this board because we don't all agree with each other, and that's a good thing. So, best of luck to you. Sorry you're leaving, but all the best.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
It's
Okay.
been, I'll just say to the residents of the village of Tuckahoe, it's been an honor to serve on this board for nearly a decade. And I would just say that, you know, politics or these boards can always be messy at times. But with all the people I've served on, I'll just say that everyone has given good effort and has been very thoughtful and has always tried to do their best to, in every small decision along the way, to make the village just a little bit better. And so it's been my pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, good night, Tuckahoe.